Hi, my name's Kate and I'm from Autism and ADHD, or www.autismandadhd.org. Come and join us and you'll get a weekly newsletter on all sorts of things around autism and ADHD. In that team, I champion pathological demand avoidance. And today, I have the privilege and honour of talking to none other than Sally Cat. I'm asking you today, Sally Cat, about meltdowns. Meltdowns seem to be a word that's almost bandied around a little bit too much, to the point where there's a lot of confusion about what a meltdown actually is. For some, a meltdown is a full-on explosive outburst, and to others, it's a big panic. And I know that sometimes it can be internalised as well. So Sally Cat, can you help us understand a little bit more about PDA and meltdowns?
Hello, Kate, and thank you for the lovely introduction. In answer to your question, I think a PDA meltdown is an involuntary mental explosion that happens when overload builds up and up and up. This is true also, I think, for any neurodivergent person melting down. If you're not familiar with the term, neurodivergent means an atypical brain type such as ADHD, general autistic and PDA. To understand meltdown, it might help to think of a traditional stovetop kettle with a whistle. As the water heats, steam builds up inside it until, when the water reaches boiling point, the amount of steam is so great that the kettle can no longer contain it and it pushes out, causing the whistle to scream. For neurodivergent brains, we can think of input flooding in. Input might be sensory, things like noise and bright light. It can be the energy needed for social interaction. It can be factors triggering intense emotions, and for PDAs, pressure to meet demands. These can flood into the brain too, causing increasing stress. The brain, all brains in fact, can only handle so much incoming stimulus at a time. For neurotypical brains, neurotypical meaning not neurodivergent, in other words, the most common or typical brain type, we can think of there being an efficient built-in filter which limits the flow of incoming stimulus so it's at a level that the brain machine can process. However, for neurodivergent brains, we can think of the inbuilt filter being wider, so in stimulus-filled environments such as shopping centres and big social gatherings, more input flows in than the brain machine can process, and the brain machine starts to overheat. This is overload. Now, an overloaded brain is not a well-functioning machine. It is hot and short on space, so the experient will feel stressed and likely irritable if people speak to them, or other factors such as the doorbell ringing, grabbing their attention. For PDAs, at the best, least overloaded of times, these factors, people wanting attention or ringing doorbells, are stress-inducing demands. There are only so many demands that we can deal with at one time. Even if we avoid them, for example, not answering the door, they still trigger pressure on the brain, pushing it towards overload. In fact, even internal messages such as bladder needs to pee generate demand pressure. I think that this is why PDAs appear to be especially prone to overload. The only way for an overloaded brain machine to rebalance and run smoothly is for it to have a long enough break from new stimulus for it to cool down, so its cogs can slow down and it can process incoming information at a manageable speed. I believe that this is why quiet space is so very, very important for PDAs. However, if quiet space is not accessed when the brain is overloading, like that stovetop kettle I talked about, the pressure will reach a point that the brain machine blows. Maybe as an ear-piercing shriek, like that kettle, or maybe as punching and kicking and shouting and smashing, or sometimes manifesting as super bitch mode, where slashing hurtful words start hurling out at those nearby. These reactions are all forms of meltdown. My meltdown style is the latter, the super bitch. Being in meltdown is a horrible experience. It honestly feels as if I've been possessed by a devil, and that this devil has access to not just my vocal cords, but to my knowledge of loved ones, so it can say just the right things to wound them deeply. I witness myself in helpless, ashamed horror as I say these nasty, spiteful things, but I'm not in control at all. I think it's actually very important for people to understand that when we are in meltdown, we are not in control. Kind of like when people have epileptic fits. We may look in control, after all we're looking right at you and saying horrible things, or maybe punching you in the face, but we are not in control. The meltdown devil is. We are likely in fact feeling very distressed and totally out of control. I cannot be reasoned with during meltdown. I am literally beyond reason, or at least the helpless witnessing part of me, that is my reasoning part, is separated, and that part of me has no power. I might hear your words and agree with them, but the meltdown devil in control of me will merely grow more irate and seek to hurt you more. I think that what the meltdown devil is seeking to achieve is control for me. It seeks to do this with no compassion for you and to coerce you into submitting so the control of my world is assured. Please do remember that the rational moral part of me is watching on in mute helpless horror while this happens. So the best thing to do, I think, is not to argue with me, not to judge me, and to just back away without giving me any hooks to argue back at, because bitch me will grab anything you say to me as fuel to throw back at you 1,000 times harder. I should also add here, I think that, as well as meltdown, unrelenting overload can cause shutdown. While for meltdown, my overworked brain cogs grow white hot and melt, with shutdown, the cogs just seize up so they don't move at all. My brain machine shuts down. My mental processing halts so that I can neither speak nor move. Both shutdown and meltdown can be resolved if my brain machine is allowed lots of quiet time with no incoming stimulus, including pressure to hurry up and start functioning again. Unpressured peace is needed.
Thank you so much, Sally Cat. That was just a brilliant way to describe a meltdown. I absolutely loved the kettle analogy, because I'm imagining that just like a boiled kettle, that it takes quite a long time to cool down. And that if, say for example, the switch on the kettle is put on again, it doesn't take too long to get to boiling point again. And so, like you say, quiet time is absolutely essential. Time enough for that kettle to completely cool down. I'm going to share this video with children, adults and anybody working with children with PDA, or any child that's prone to meltdowns. because it's clear that the kettle needs time to cool down completely, so that a cool kettle is the baseline mood for the PDA.
Exactly. We need to be in the cool kettle state to function.
I'm ever so grateful for you giving me this information. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get an opportunity to speak to you again. It's such fun stepping into the world of Sally Cat. Thank you for now. Bye.
And thank you, Kate. It's been a real honour to work with you, and like you say, loads of fun. Thank you and bye.